She sat outside the same diner every evening, rain or shine, her wheelchair old, its paint peeling, her hands trembling slightly as she waited. No one knew her name. To most, she was just that girl who asked for leftovers. But to Mark, a single father who passed by the diner after work each night, she was a mystery he couldn't ignore. What made a young girl like her sit alone, day after day, waiting for scraps of food no one else wanted? That question, that image, haunted him. And one night, when he decided to follow her after she rolled away with her small paper bag of leftovers, what he discovered shattered his heart and changed both their lives forever. Mark was a 38-year-old mechanic, rough around the edges but kind to the core. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, it had just been him and his 10-year-old son, Ethan. He worked long hours, trying to keep the shop afloat and the bills paid. Every evening, after picking up his son from the community center, they'd pass the same diner where the girl sat. She never begged. She never looked desperate. She just waited patiently, a small smile whenever someone handed her a bag. Ethan had asked once, "Dad, why doesn't she just go home and eat?" Mark hadn't known what to say. One night, as the rain poured, Mark noticed she was still there, soaked to the skin but unmoving. Something inside him twisted. He pulled over, walked up to her, and offered her his umbrella. "You'll catch your death out here," he said softly. She looked up. Her eyes were gentle, almost apologetic. "Thank you, sir. I'm just waiting a little longer." The diner owner said he might have something left. Mark's throat tightened. He couldn't leave her like that. He bought her a hot meal and coffee and handed it to her. She hesitated. "I only take leftovers. I don't like taking food someone could still sell." Her humility stunned him. "Please," he urged. "This isn't charity. It's dinner with a friend." She smiled faintly and accepted. That night, for the first time, Mark saw her eat slowly, carefully, as though she hadn't had a warm meal in days. Afterward, she thanked him, said her name was Lily, and started wheeling away. Something urged him to follow her, not out of suspicion, but concern. He turned off his headlights and followed at a distance as she rolled down narrow streets into the darker part of town. When she stopped in front of an abandoned warehouse, he felt a chill. She disappeared through a side door. Mark waited a few minutes, then quietly went closer. Inside, he found something that broke him completely. The building wasn't empty. Inside were 4 small children, dirty, shivering, hungry. They ran to Lily as she entered, their faces lighting up. "Did you get something today?" one little boy asked. Lily smiled weakly and pulled out the leftovers. "Just enough for everyone to share," she said softly. Mark stood frozen, tears forming in his eyes. This paralyzed girl, who everyone ignored, who people pitied for asking for scraps, was feeding 4 orphans who depended on her to survive. He stepped out of the shadows, and Lily gasped. "Please, don't tell anyone," she whispered. "They'll take them away. I promise to protect them." Mark shook his head, barely able to speak. "You've been doing all this alone," she nodded. "Their mother used to beg near the train station. She died last winter. I couldn't let them end up like her." That night, Mark drove home in silence, Ethan asleep in the back seat. But his mind was spinning. He saw his wife's face, kind, gentle, and knew what she would have said. Do something. The next morning, he packed food, blankets, and drove back to the warehouse. Lily looked frightened when he appeared, but when he smiled and handed her a bag of groceries, she began to cry. "Why are you helping us?" she whispered. Mark knelt beside her. "Because my son needs to learn what real strength looks like. And I think I just met the strongest person I've ever known." Days turned into weeks. Mark fixed her wheelchair, got her medical supplies, and arranged a safe place for the children through a local shelter. but Lily refused to leave them. "They're my family," she said quietly. "If they go, I go." Mark spoke with the shelter manager and arranged for all of them to stay together. For the first time in months, they had warmth, food, and hope. Then one evening, Lily fell ill. The doctor said she had an infection that had gone untreated for too long. Mark sat beside her hospital bed, holding her frail hand. "You saved those kids," he whispered. "Now let me help save you." She smiled weakly. "You already did. You gave me something I thought I'd lost, faith in people." When she recovered, Mark offered her a job at his shop, managing the books and helping customers. With her sharp mind and gentle nature, she became the heart of the place. Ethan adored her, calling her Aunt Lily. The children she'd cared for were enrolled in school, their laughter filling the once empty corners of her life. Months later, Mark looked out at his small but happy family. Lily in her wheelchair beside Ethan, the kids playing in the yard, and thought about the night he'd followed her. He had thought he was helping her, but in truth, she had helped him rediscover the kind of goodness his wife used to believe in. And every evening, when they passed the diner where he first saw her, Lily would smile and say, "Funny how life works, huh? You went looking for answers and found a family." A Mark would nod, his heart full. "No," he'd say quietly, "I followed a stranger and found an angel."